What's going on? It's your boy Sage, and this is my new settings for the new Black Ops 6 Warzone settings. If you guys do enjoy this video, please drop a like, comment, and tell me what you guys would like to see next. And let's just get into the video. Thank you guys. Into my controller settings. My controller settings this year will be 7.7. 7.7 feels best for me, and I feel like it's just personal preference, whatever your settings are. So if you don't enjoy it, test out other settings and see whatever you like best. And for this year, I am also using a PlayStation Scump controller, using code SAGE, gives you a big boost. But this year I am also using a PlayStation controller. Last year and the last couple of years I've always used an Xbox controller, and I've always loved the Xbox controller, but I wanted to try something new. So I feel like using this controller does help me out a lot with just the feeling of it and how it feels on this game. So Scump controller, perfect. Using code SAGE does give you a big boost, you know me, I'm just saying. Also for me, I do use my bumpers. I don't use my triggers no more. I don't know if it's the other way around, blah blah blah. I don't know. They're all buttons, but I do use these buttons this year. I do not use these buttons. I feel like this is best for me because I do enjoy these buttons, and these are also digital triggers. So for me, I prefer it. You don't want to, you don't have to. And for my dead zones, I am also using 2 on my left stick, and I did set this to 75. I feel like this is best for me. I feel like I enjoy it more. I feel more slippery around the map and more responsive and stuff like that for this stuff. So this is all personal preference, whatever your controller is used to and how the durability of your controller. I know a lot of people deal with stick drift and stuff like that. I feel like I'd never deal with that stuff. I don't break my controllers or click my buttons as much to break them like that. So this is the best settings I would feel like using. I feel like the 3 on my right stick also helps me so much with my aim assist and my responsive curve on it. So right stick on 3, left stick on 2, with the left stick max on 75 is probably the best. So with the triggers, I set both of them to 0 just because I feel like it helps me out with the responsive of the controller. Going into my aiming sensitivity, I did switch my aiming sensitivity to 80. I know it's very hard to find your sensitivity and stuff like that. I don't know why it is not on the first page, but yes, to find your sensitivity is on the 80th sensitivity on the second aiming tab. And I did set mine to 80. And as for my focus when I'm sniping and stuff like that, I have it set to 90. This just feels best for me, honestly, and I just enjoy this more. Going into this, I use dynamic 100. If I were you, I would change this to instant. I don't know why it changed, but changing this to instant makes it so much better. I don't know why, but I feel like using gradual last year was the biggest mistake that I made, because going into hip fires to like aiming was so bad. I felt like my sense was like slower. I would lose gunfights and just get had, and I was just like, wait, what? Going into gunfights using instant and knowing how responsive the controller is, going into these fights, I have a slight advantage that my stick is just ready to tap onto the body. And I don't know why, but using gradual and it stays on gradual, it just doesn't feel right for me. So instant has been working best for me, and I love it, honestly. As well as going into target aim assist, of course, you got to leave that on. I need it. Of course, I need it. Make sure, if you can, go into the motion sensor aiming and turn off FOV scaling sensitivity. You do not need this at all. Back then in Warzone 1, you did need it, but now it is like a huge drag and it ruins your aim sometimes. And it might just be like, I don't know, just a feeling for me. But honestly, I feel like turning it off made it easier for me. And then going into my movement settings, I use tctekk sprint assist. I feel like, of course, you need automatic tctekk sprint. Changing it to 0 makes it a lot better. I know normally I think it's set to 500. Make sure you lower it to 0, and it will 100% help you in your movement. As well as the sprint assist sideways and backwards. I use this because I use omni movement so much, and in all my movements, like everything I do, I need to be ready to sprint. So instead of me clicking my left stick on back and forth, I could just let it go with automatic tctekk sprint, and it does the job for me. As well as mantle assist, I make sure I take off all of this stuff, and I set my mantle assist angle to medium instead of loose or tight. I was using tight, and I didn't really like it. I felt like I wasn't able to get into much jump spots. Using medium made it so much easier for me, and I preferred it more. I did use loose for a little bit, and I did tend to like it, but I feel like in certain gunfights, when you jump, it'll automatically mantle you because you were not the direction you were like looking, and it really was messing me up in a lot of gunfights. So I did take it off, as well as like the crouch assist. You don't really need any of this stuff. I feel like I also do use corner slicing. I don't really, It doesn't really do anything. I don't know. I don't really know. I recently just tried it. Blew my mind. But yeah, I do use corner slicing, and I also use hybrid. Hybrid I feel like is best for me because I tend to move a lot. I tend to do jump spots and everything that I really enjoy doing into the game and abusing movement as much as I can. So hybrid is best for me. I mean, a lot of people do like taps to slide and stuff like that. There's also a new settings for the taps to slide where you can shorten the slide. So instead of it being like back then where you had to kind of hold it for a little split second, now you can just tap it. But honestly, hybrid is best. I feel like it's more responsive than any of the other settings. This by far is the best. You just have to get used to it if you don't enjoy it, and trust me, it will do you God's work. As well as automatic mantle, airborne mantle, I do have it on partial. I think it is set to on when you normally play. Having this just helps me sometimes when it comes to like specific jump spots and stuff like that. I feel like you kind of do need it in certain spots. I know the mantling in this game isn't really the best, so having it on partial kind of helps me out because sometimes I feel like I do jump over ledges having it on. So partial is just best. So whenever you try to get on top of a jump spot, doing anything you really want to, this is probably the best thing. As well as sprint restore and slide maintain sprint. I feel like just having these on just makes it easier for you to movement better and just get into those gunfights a lot quicker instead of having the little muddy spots where you just cannot sprint. As well as parachute automatic distributor. I pray to God you guys have this off because having this on will get you killed and it makes you look like a bot. So don't do that. Mantle cancels reload. Make sure you turn this on. Okay, I know like sometimes in gunfights I do a lot of movement and stuff like that, and I do like going to jump spots. When I do reload, running away from fights, and I do try to jump, it did not let me, and I hated it. Turning this on made it a lot easier for me to get into certain spots where I can get away from the gunfight and get back to it, reloaded and everything that I really needed. So this is the best setting I would honestly use for those moments, and it helps me all the time. As well as going into this, I feel like you really don't need this stuff since you already have like automatic tack sprint. This really just helps me with it, like just regular movement. Auto peek door, this does help like as well if you're, I guess, hiding. Honestly, just having this on works out. Grounded mantle, you know, whatever, you know, it does whatever. Seeing tactical sprint activation, this also helps me. I feel like comes around the time that I need to slide and prone and then single tap. I do tend to click my left stick a lot, and it also picks me up a lot quicker. So like in certain situations I would usually press B. Like, see, it kind of just looks like a little delay-ish. When I do click my left stick, I do it a lot. I just tend to get up faster and you automatically go into a sprint. I do prefer it. I don't know why, but using it did help me out and I do prefer it. So, you know, all personal preference. I feel like if you don't want to use it, then, you know, by all means you don't have to and stuff like that. But for me, I do have it on. Well, as plunging underwater, I just have it set to free. This just lets me, I don't know, just move around the water faster. And sprinting bash door or sprinting door bash, this also I have on because I feel like in certain fights I do abuse the doors. I feel like when someone's running at me and I do use a door, I do smack them back with the door to hit them and break their aim, as well as something that you really do need, because going into a gunfight and not being able to open the door without dashing into it is one of the worst things ever. Now we're going to be going into my combat settings. I have these all set to the same default stuff. I do have this on ADS down. I don't use tack stance. Tack stance doesn't really do nothing for me, and I feel like you can't even do it on most of the guns this year, so no point in using it. Honestly, I do have this set to body shield. I do love to beat up people. I do love to grab them from the back and just give it to them, you know. So having this set to only body shield is, you know, it's just funny. It helps me out sometimes. I have this set to apply all. Please have your armor plate set to apply all. This helps me out. I feel like, you know, having it to apply one in certain gunfights kind of just sells me, so don't really have that. It kind of sucks. As well as my combat settings, do have this set to prioritize interact. This is personal preference. This is all I feel like using this helps me out a lot with doing stuff. I know a lot of people use prioritize reload. I feel like if you are from like the multiplayer scene and stuff like that, you would prefer this more, because it just doesn't pick up guns as much. But me, I do tend to pick up stuff a lot and do a lot of more movement stuff with my interacting. So I feel like this is best for me. But, you know, all personal preference. Don't have to listen to me. Sprint cancels reload. Why did we turn this on? Please turn this off if you are watching this video and haven't turned it off. This will help you out so much. I don't know why COD decided to set this on and literally just ruin our lives, but setting this off literally helped me out so much, and I preferred it the most. Okay, please turn that off. Now we're going to be going into my graphic settings. My graphic settings, I do have it set to full screen borderless. I would advise you use full screen exclusive. I use borderless. This is all because I just tend to, I have a single PC. My PC is perfectly built. It is a beefy PC, so it's able to manage me tabbing in and out, you know. But setting it to full screen exclusive, it does help you out. It does increase your frames. I do average on like at least 200 and something frames playing this game, so I don't really need the full screen exclusive. It doesn't really, you know, but I have mine set to borderless. I would advise you use it exclusive, and it will help you out a lot, and it will make your game feel a lot more smoother. As well as I do have a 4080 and I do have a 240 hertz monitor, so you know, I have a slight advantage when it comes to specs and stuff like that. As well as my gamma and brightness, I do have it set to 58. I feel like it is able, and it does allow me to see through like windows and stuff that are very, very cold, like dark in this game. I don't know why most of the buildings this year are very dark, but using this and having it set to 58 just kind of helps me out in certain situations. You know, it's all personal preference. Depends on how your monitor is set, or TV, whatever you use, but having it set to 58 is really good. As well as my NVIDIA reflex low latency, I do have it on boost, just give me the slight FPS boost. This does help me out so much. I feel like using it on or off kind of tears my frames sometimes, and I feel like on boost is the best thing that I can possibly use. As well as please turn VSync off. We don't need that. And if you want, you can also use whatever you want for your custom frame rate. Depends on your monitor and stuff like that. I do have mine set to unlimited because I feel like my game would not get to the amount of frames or hertz that I have on my monitor, so I just leave it on unlimited, just have it as usual. As well as all these settings, please turn these off. Optimal, please leave it on optimal. Turn this off, and keep focus on low. The lowest it could possibly be, keep it and put it on 0. HDR, you don't really need this. I wouldn't advise using this. This will probably just ruin your frames a little bit more. Just have it off and it'll boost your low frames a little bit. Now we're going to be going in my quality settings. My quality settings, I do have it on Fidelity FX Cast. I feel like this is best for Warzone. This gives you the best kind of graphics and stuff like that, as well as graphics on this game are kind of like Play-Doh-ish. So using Fidelity Cast does help it out a lot. I do have my Fidelity Cast strength on 100. All this stuff you don't really need to get into. I feel like this is just personal preference and stuff like that, depending on your motherboard or like whatever stuff you have with your PC. So just leaving on Fidelity Cast on strength on 100 is best for you. All the other stuff, just ignore it. You don't really need it. Also going to my frame generation, turn that off. VRAM scale target. I feel like if you do crash a lot in this game, which I know a lot of people do, setting your VRAM scale target to lowest, or probably like 60-ish, is probably what helps you, or helps me out a lot, get less crashes and like less destroying my PC. It does help my frames out a lot. It makes it a lot more smoother, as well as having my variable rate shading. I have it on just because, you know, I don't really know too much about the quality settings and stuff like that, but I feel like this does help a little bit, and just having it on does, you know, help out for me. As well as all my details and textures, I do have everything set to the lowest because this game does not need better quality. I feel like you do not need better quality. It would just probably make your PC worse and have your shit blow up. So turn it off, you know. Have my texture resolution on 4, texture filter on lowest, depth of field low, detail quality low, particle resolution. I used to have it on high, but now I have it set to low. I don't know. I feel like you just don't need it, honestly. And it doesn't do much to your PC, you know. This doesn't really care. Bullet impact, I have it set to off. I just don't need it, as well as the other stuff. Persistent effects, don't need it. Just turn it off and stuff like that. Shader quality set to the lowest. You don't really need that. On-demand texture, I do set this to the lowest. I don't know what it does, but I do have it set to the lowest just because I don't want my PC to mess up, or my frames to mess up. Local texture streaming, I do stream, so of course I do have it set to normal. This help me out on my stream, and it does make the quality of the stream look perfect. As well as my shadow quality and shadow and lightning, I have it all set to lowest because it just you don't really need all this stuff. Tessellation, volumetric quality, set all of this stuff to off. Really need this. And water quality, I do have it set to off. Usually I used to have water caustics, but like now you don't really need it because it's so easy to see through the water this year. We're going to be going to my FOV. My FOV is 120 and I do have it on affected. I would advise using it on Warzone if you feel like it'll help you out the most. It does give me the less recoil and stuff like that, more aim assist drags and stuff like that. 120 is probably the best for that. I know I used to use 113 back then, but I didn't really like it for this game. I felt like it was a little bit worse, but using it on 120 this year makes it a lot more better, as well as my weapon field of view. I have it set to wide so I can have a clear visual on what I'm shooting at half the time or hip firing. This is all personal preference, of course, but of course for a slight advantage in some of your gunfights, I would advise copying my settings right here, as well as weapon motion blur and weapon and road motion blur. Please turn these off. You don't really need this. This just destroys the quality of your game and it does not look good at all. As well as having your camera movement, please set it to the least. It does mess up a lot of your gunfights, and I feel like whenever you're doing stuff and running around, you will get motion sickness and stuff like that. It does look terrible for the game. So setting this all off to off or the lowest is the best thing to do. And I don't know, that's just what I prefer. Now we're going to be going into my audio settings. I feel like these are the best audio settings that I have used and I have just been getting used to, honestly, since the game came out. I do have my master game set to 100 because this game has no audio. I mean that literally. There is no audio. God help us, please, Activision. They did do an update recently that did slightly improve it, but I feel like the audio really just doesn't help out much, yes, honestly. And I do not use Art of War audio. I do not like it. It just doesn't sound good to me. This is all personal preference, of course. For a slight advantage, if you do want to use our audio, go tap in with Art of War. It does set out some of the craziest audio settings that will help you out advantageously and just help out your ears, because this game is very, very loud. So if you do, go tap into Art. He's a good guy. As well as for me, I just don't prefer it. I use loudness EQ and I have it set to the shortest, because if you need to see that, I will show you right here. I have my sound. Go to my playback. If you don't know how to do this, whatever audio system do you use, I use games, so I go to properties, enhancements, loudness EQ, set it to on, and set it to the shortest you possibly can. This will help you out, and it will shorten the gun sounds, because the gun in this game without loudness EQ will bleed your ears. Okay, and I do have it set to Windows default. I don't have enhanced headphone audio. I did not pay the $20 for that. It is useless. I do prefer a headphone bass boost. I feel like this is best for when going into buildings. You can hear the levels of the players instead of worrying about hearing the echo of your own footsteps. It does sound terrible sometimes, but honestly, using a headphone bass boost did help me out so much, as well as with PAs and clusters. This helps me out and not give me bleeding ears. So try it out. If you do like it, go ahead and use it. Mono audio, don't need that. All this other stuff, don't need that. Asymmetrical hearing compensation, you do, if you want, can turn this on and set with your frequencies and stuff like that. I do not do that. I do not prefer it. But you know, if you do want to use it and you do want to like get nerdy and stuff with it, there is a lot of stuff and it will hurt your ears, so I would not open it right now on this video. But you know, just all personal preference and stuff like that. If you do want to use it, tinnitus audio, if you do want to use that for when it comes to flashes, I don't know, concussions and stuff like that, I would advise turning it on if it does hurt your ears, but I have it set to off because I don't really mind it. Hit marker preset, I do have it set to default. I did like classic, but honestly, default sounds really, really good for this game, and I do enjoy it a lot more. Now we'll be going into my interface and my gameplay HUD and all my telemetry stuff that I need. This is all personal preference. This is all up to you. You can customize how you want, but this is just how I have it. My gameplay tips, I have it off. Visual support, I don't have this. I don't really think you need that. This would just change your settings for you automatically. I do have my tooltips off. Telemetry, I have it set to my FPS, server latency, and packet loss. Also, I have my clock in there. I don't really need the other stuff, and I really don't care for the other stuff, so I just leave this how it is, like this. Also, going into my gameplay HUD. I feel like my gameplay HUD is where it matters the most, because this is where I do tend to change my settings a lot. Gameplay HUD, make sure you have it set to the smallest, because it gives you a slight advantage on looking around the map and look into your mini map and all your other stuff that you personally need. I feel like this will help you out so much. As well as my mini map, change it to square, because having it to round gives you a slight disadvantage in most of the gunfights. And like, I'm not gunfights, but like looking around the map when you have a UAV and stuff like that, having it set to square makes you see farther on the mini map. So I would prefer having this on. And my minimum rotation on as well does help me out when I'm do too many spins and stuff like that around the map and you get lost. So having this set on does help me out. My radar, I would prefer not to have this on. I feel like if you do turn it on, you will see how nasty it looks on your minimap. Please just keep this off, honestly. As well as all this other stuff, I don't touch this. Going into my crosshairs, I do have it set to center dot. I used to have static, but now I really don't like static, and I don't like how it looks regularly. So center dot does help me because it does make me feel like I do get into my gunfights a lot better because I can center on to the better of their chest. And not sometimes when I was on static, I would like low-key look around the map and looking at my crosshair a lot and be like, ugh, you know. But having this set to center dot does help me out because looking at the chest does give you the most aim assist whenever they do any type of movement, slides, prones, and all that stuff. Your center dot and your aim assist will drag onto that if you do use that. As well as all this other stuff, don't really need to use it. But my widget visibility, I have my settings set to like this. This just helps me out whenever I'm looking around the map. Whenever I'm in gunfights, getting kills, I do get the score feed and stuff like that, PA notifications and stuff like that. I do set all of these settings lower. I do prefer these settings for myself because it just helps me visually see the game better instead of having to worry about not being able to see something because of a small thing that pops up on my screen. So, of course, if you do want to use this, go ahead. But these are my settings for the year. And if you guys do enjoy the video, please, please, please drop a like, subscribe, drop a comment on what you guys would like to see next, as well as all my gun builds and stuff like that will be in every single one of my videos. And I appreciate you guys so much for all the love. And I appreciate you guys for always continuing to support me. And I'll see you guys in the next video.